Hey guys, you found it. Welcome to the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast. I am your host, Brandon Richards. I'm a real estate investor and avid entrepreneur based out of Flagstaff, Arizona. My wife and I run a real estate investment company, the OPF Group, and the brokerage, OPF Realty. We focus on land acquisitions across several states, flip and build homes, acquire and wholesale apartments, and we are now the proud owners of the real estate investor software, Deal Manager Pro. Deal Manager Pro is a real estate investor CRM that we are building based off of our 10 years of experience in the game. Listen in as I interview the nation's leading entrepreneurs and discuss the monumental battles of business and life. Hey guys, welcome back. It's Brandon here with the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast, and today's guest is Randy, a real estate coach, leadership master. I'm happy to have him on to discuss how we can help real estate agents and investors and other entrepreneurs expand their business. So Randy, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you. Let's just jump right in. Tell us what you do and why you are where you are and how you got into it.
Great question. Well, I've been in pursuit of trying to be my very best version of myself for years and years. And I've been doing real estate for 33 years, licensed in 1992. And throughout those 33 years, I've done just about everything and anything when it comes to the game of real estate, but also entrepreneurship as well. Owning brokerages, running teams. And in pursuit of that, I've helped 7,000 people make a move of some sort through either buying or selling properties. So it's been a real fun ride. And along the way, I've helped a lot of other agents see their full potential.
Mhm.
But I'm just a lifelong learner, always wanting to find a better version of myself. And so that's what I do each and every day. I wake up and jump out of bed and become alive and see if I can't find my why
Mhm.
throughout the day.
Yeah, same here, same here. And I think I see, is that the 4 hour work week up there on your shelf?
It is,
I think
yes.
so, yeah. Yeah, quite a few of the same books behind me. Wow,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I get a lot of books, and I'll get in like these little phases of read, and then I go on like a couple month hiatus. I'm like, crap, I need to get back into reading, and then I'll get on audiobook, and then I'll finally sit down and actually read. But I'm somewhat in the same boat here, is just trying to always learning, especially when it comes to real estate and just kind of trying to develop that time freedom aspect of life, you know.
Well, I think real estate is one of those games where you're a full-on entrepreneur. You've got everything that you need to do. Like there's nothing that you can't just I'll let somebody else take care of that, or somebody else will handle that for me. But as a real estate agent, you're really a full-on entrepreneur in all levels at
Yeah,
all times.
right. Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that it's primarily marketing.
Yes.
Keeping
Yes.
keeping the deal flow or the pipeline loaded and ready for the next few months, especially priming for the slow season. Like for us, our winter is crazy slow. There's 3 months here where there's almost no movement in property, and so we've got to prime our pipeline
Mm.
well into the summer to brace ourselves for the winter.
Yeah. The best real estate agent or the best business owner is not always the one that succeeds. It's the one that markets the best.
Right.
It's really about marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. So beforehand, we talked about quite a few things. Let's touch on your book first and
Hmm.
tell us why you wrote it and what it's about.
Hmm. Well, the book is called Underdog DNA, DNA being the 24th chromosome that I believe we all have within our soul, within our making and being. And so the 24th chromosome is that DNA, that underdog DNA within us. And, a lot of people I ask, are you an underdog? And they go, no. And then you kind of dig deeper and you realize that, deep down, we all have that DNA within us. So it's a book that is near and dear to my heart. I've been a serial underdog my entire life, and I've found how to, reach into that DNA, that 24th chromosome, and really help me in each and every day, each and every moment, and so that's the pursuit of it. But a lot of us, have fears around being the underdog as well. But yet, Hollywood seems to make the best movies
Yeah.
when it comes to the underdog.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. You write your own story. It's funny because I just wrote a Facebook post this morning. Um, I got into real estate about 10 years ago, and before that, I mean, I survived on a carpet cleaning franchise that I own. I was owner operator and was kind of making money as an operator. And then I hired somebody, and then I wasn't really making any money, so I sold it. Got into real estate as a realtor. As a new realtor, not going to somebody like Keller Williams where they get the fire program and they really launch you. I was trying to
Mhm.
do the dumb way, and I was kind of just doing my own thing, being who I am. And so for months, I'm living off my girlfriend, now wife's teacher's salary with my two daughters after a fresh divorce. And I'm like, man, what am I doing? And it just felt like what you were saying for years and years and years. A lot of us, especially entrepreneurs, feel like the underdog from in every phase. Even when we start to make a little bit more money, we're like, man, where am I going to get that break? It always just feels like you're getting pushed down, or you feel pushed down, when really people looking from the outside in is like, dude, this guy's really doing well. And it's just, I think it's the entrepreneurial mindset, just
Mhm.
always wanting more.
Yeah, if I ask anybody today if they believe I'm an underdog, they say, not a chance, Randy.
Yeah.
Look at all the things that you've done. Yet I still am an underdog. And I've interviewed many, many, professional athletes, whether they're in the NHL, the NFL, whatever it is, and they still say that it's the underdog spirit, the highest level of whatever they are, and they're still believing that they're underdogs. So I really believe that's in each and
Yeah.
every one of us, and we can tap into it and make it something really, really special.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So you've been licensed since 92.
Hmm.
A lot of
Just a
things have
little while.
yeah, a lot of things have changed since then, and a lot of
Yeah.
things are changing now. Before, I don't know all the details, and I'm making an assumption, but in 92 there obviously wasn't internet, so there wasn't much of an MLS. You still had the MLS books that I've heard about, where you had to look up the listings, and you had to,
Mhm.
was it published every week or a few days, or how did that work?
Yeah, it was published every 2 weeks, and you'd use that
Wow.
to actually motivate people. Hey, the calendar or the catalog cutoff is coming up
Uh-huh.
tomorrow. We got to get on the market today. You
Yeah.
got to sign your agreement today so we can get in the catalog.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so much has changed. There's three major things that have changed real estate since I started, and up until the internet, really nothing had changed in the game of real estate. It was the same. It was just, somebody was acting as the agent. There was a buyer or a seller, and you just did all the networking and connecting, and you did some marketing, but not much had changed for hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of years. And then the internet came along. It
Mhm.
was like, oh my goodness. And everybody was freaked out. Most of the agents at that time were like, no, no, we can't do this. This is going to wreck everything. We're going to lose control because the catalog and your office had all the data. It was the gatekeeper, so to speak, right?
Yep. Yep.
And so everybody had to come to you. At least that was the concept, that all the agents were afraid that they're going to lose. And I was fairly young at the time. I started real estate at 28, so I embraced it, and I thought, well, this is pretty cool. You mean I can market, and people could call me up and say, I want to see this house, that house,
Hmm.
without ever entering my office, and I would meet them there, and I would show them three houses, and they'd buy one of them.
Hmm.
That was pretty cool. So that was the first major change. The second one, social media.
Yeah.
Social media changed everything again. And all of a sudden, what you could do on the internet, which you could be in a small basement of a house and look like a huge business,
Hmm.
was also giving you the opportunity to be on social media, almost like you were on TV. And social media to me is really just reality TV with commercials. And
Hmm.
when I'm not on social media or I'm not present, it's a very long commercial. And then I come back on and it's the reality show of Randy or Brandon again. So that was the next really big change. And in fact, even the internet and social media kind of like came, but it was just there and nobody really understood the real power of it. And a few people did, but today, of course, everybody thinks that it's, the best thing since sliced bread in a
Hmm.
way of marketing. And today, the next is AI
Yeah. Really,
and how
and
that's
as
going to
as
change.
as realtors, well, I'd be interested to hear what you think is going to explode, because I mean it's a hot topic in all industries right now. So I own a software company, and I'm always trying to think about how to implement AI into the software, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. And I even went to a software SaaS mastermind about a month ago, and
Mm.
everybody's talking about AI and how there's a rush to get into it. But I never thought about it for the realtor or brokerage side of my business. How would you or are you implementing AI currently into your real estate side?
Well, it's certainly saving me a ton of time,
Hmm.
energy, money. Um, I call I mean, I'm on a number of different platforms. The one that I use, or the two that I use the most, is ChatGPT and
Yep.
Claude.
Yep.
And of course, I've named them both. I
Mhm.
like Claude as a name, so I just call him Claude.
Yeah.
Then Chat is Sam. I call him Sam.
Hmm.
And I use them like my personal EAs each and every day. How do I, make a better presentation? How do I do this? And I'm now building out an in-depth basically my everything from my financial planner to my business manager to my EA, all that I'm building that out through prompts
Hmm.
and throwing in spreadsheets, my financials, and everything I can because I've got an Einstein in every one of those areas sitting there working on my behalf.
Yeah.
So that alone has just been a game changer for me, an absolute game changer. Then, of course, databases and lead gen and all that I've got coming in, and I've got personas of myself in the background of all of these tools and resources, the CRM, I
Hmm.
use a couple different CRMs, and they basically take those leads and start chatting and talking to them as if they're me.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's powerful, powerful, powerful. And we don't even know the true power of it yet because it's such at its infancy. Like if you think of the internet and where we've come from,
Hmm.
or social media and where that's gone, just think of what AI is going to be in a matter of 3, 4, 5, 10 years, right? I
Yeah.
mean, be
It's
crazy.
yeah, it's pretty exciting and for me a little bit scary at the same time. There's
Yes.
there's already stories of AI generated voices and imaging
Yes.
and AI bots mimicking your title agent and putting you on a Zoom call and getting your wiring instructions. And so now we got to figure out some sort of way to encrypt those to ensure we're talking to a real human nowadays because there's oftentimes many images and videos where I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure this is AI, but I don't know. It's really, really close. So I'm super excited for it, but at the same time, I'm a little worried about it.
Absolutely. With great power comes great responsibility as well.
Yeah.
And we need to really be aware and thinking, how do we, do the best for the world? And I know you're all about a go-giver. You're a go-giver at heart, and how do we do and work with tools, resources to really, you know, be the best that we can be, but also, build up this world to be the best it can be.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Let's talk about the ROL versus, or yeah, to ROI. What
Hmm.
you sounded pretty excited about that pre-show, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, everything, when you're driven, and by the way, I'm super competitive. I'm a twin,
Hmm?
which first of all, that makes me super competitive. Then I had
Yep.
an accident at 14 that I woke up paralyzed on the ground and had to learn how to
Ay,
walk
ay, ay.
again. So I'm a really competitive dude.
Hmm?
And so everything in my life is how do I get more out of this? What's the ROI in this? How do I make this, even better than what somebody else thinks it should be? And success is fantastic, but at some point you get to the point where you go, is it really about more success or is it about a life of significance?
Yep.
And so all of that was coming together, and I realized, gosh, maybe it's not about the ROI all the time. Maybe it's about the ROL, the return on life versus the return on the investment.
Yeah.
And so I just started, working that around and noodling with that. And next thing I knew, I was going, gosh, everything I was doing is how do I get more out of this for life? Not about the return on investment. And yes, we do need the ROI, but at some point, you have to say, what's more important here? And, as a really busy agent, cranking out 80 hours a week, selling, hundreds of homes a year, you can get so consumed with the ROI that you forget about what's really important, which is life,
Yeah.
family, your faith. All of those things get sometimes put into the back seat, and you're just driving. And so now that's my true test. Hey, is this really an ROL or is this an ROI? And how do I balance that out?
Yeah. Well, that's why I named my show what I named it, The Fearless Pursuit of Freedom, because
Mm.
I get stuck. I'm similar. I'm a competitive. I like to do everything to the best of my ability, but I'm also very squirrely. Or shiny object syndrome, whatever you want to call it. I'll see a new opportunity. I'm like, I can do that. I can capitalize that. I've realized recently in the past few months, I'm like, dude, I think I took on too much stuff. I need to start either A, slowing down, B, telling people no, or putting a lot of this stuff on the back burner instead of trying to do it all. And because right now, well, we're running the investment company, we're buying land in 3 different states. We've got the brokerage, I got the podcast. We have a nonprofit that my wife thankfully has is running full time without me now. And it's just like, dude, how am I going to get all this done? And it starts to really dwindle down. And it goes back to how is this benefiting my life? Sure, the bottom line's looking pretty decent, but where's my time freedom? Like this weekend,
Hmm.
that post is in relation to I'm a pilot. And I've always we fly around a lot for fun and work, and I'll go show houses. And I was like, I want to go camping. It's warming up, but I also want to go flying. So my wife and I, we load up all the camping stuff into the plane. We flew down the lake, posted up. I had no cell phone signal. I could barely get text randomly if I was on the top of the little peak, but it was nice to just shut down for 2 days, go fishing, and just hang out. It was super nice to just step away from all of the madness.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. And that's kind of a segue into scientific scaling systems, which
Hmm.
is the coaching program I run. And I was the same with that. I was like cranking out, big hours, hitting that 60, 75 deals a year process. And I thought, how do I even scale this
Hmm.
more? Yet I was that competitive guy that's going, okay, I can take this, I can double this, I could do this, I could do that. But how was I going to do that? Because time, we all have the same amount of time, and I was just burning time at both
Hmm.
ends, and I couldn't find it. So then I thought, how do I do this? How do I do this where I actually sell more houses but work less?
Hmm.
And so what I did is I reverse engineered the process of the sale to find more time and scale and make it more fun, which is what I call, making lead gen more fun again, or making lead gen fun again.
Hmm.
And so what I've done to get that ROL in the game of real estate, rather than doing what we're taught, at least this is what I was taught. The first day I got my real estate license, I was put in a room and Floyd Wickman was plugged into the VCR and he said, do this. And so we all kind of did that, which was chase, convince, close, what I call the C3s.
Hmm.
Chase, convince, close, chase, convince, close. And when you chase and then you convince them that you're the perfect agent for them and they should use you, then you just start closing. And I thought, gosh, that's a lot of work,
Hmm.
which it works. It works, but it's not that much fun. So I thought, how do I reverse engineer that where people actually chase, convince, and close me?
Hmm.
That means I could just be sitting in my office and they would actually find and seek and search me out and then convince me that I should be their agent
Hmm.
and close me.
Yeah, I like that one better.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So I built a whole system around that. And that's how I would, find a way to sell 150, 60 homes personally a year. Plus, I was managing and running a team. And we'd have years where we'd sell 400 plus homes by operating under that program, the
Hmm.
scientific scaling systems, where we'd have people chase, convince, and close us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I forgot to ask you, what market are you in?
I'm in the Vancouver real estate market, so Vancouver, Canada.
Okay.
Vancouver North, not Vancouver South, which is on the Washington and Oregon coast.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Vancouver market recently changed. I mean, not recently. It was probably, shoot, when did I start going to Whistler?
Hmm.
2018. So what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, they outlawed all international investment purchasing abilities.
Yeah, we've shut that down. We've got a federal election happening here right now, and there's an individual that's wants to reverse a lot of those crazy taxes and restrictions that have been put on to
Mhm.
us as Canadians and foreigners. So I'm really looking forward to this election and see if we can't put some common sense into the marketplace again.
Yeah, because it was and it could have just been rumors. I don't remember how or why or what I read, but it was a lot of Chinese money coming in just for it was their tax sheltering or money sheltering processes. They would buy condos and high rises, right? Is what I was reading, I thought. And they kind of were like, we don't want all this outside money inflating our economy or something.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of foreign buyers, especially Asian, Chinese, coming to this marketplace
Hmm.
and pouring billions and billions of dollars into real estate for a couple of reasons. One is tax haven.
Yep.
They get their money out of their native country, their original country or origin country. But we also have some money laundering happening with that because real estate's a great place to hide your money.
Yeah.
And of course, that is also a part of that. So,
Right. Yeah.
there's some good things happening with that, but they've just gone too far and they've restricted too many things. And gosh, we even have a flipping tax now. So if I, as an investor, buy a
Really?
property and I want to improve it, because nobody wants to buy it as a rundown outhouse,
Right.
and I make it a decent, livable home, and then I want to flip it out to make some money, I am taxed on that flip significantly. And so there's just some things that have gone on, and in the province of British Columbia, um, the GDP, the largest GDP number is through construction and real estate.
Hmm.
So it's the cash cow for the government.
Yeah.
So they look at the cash cow and they go, gosh, how do we get more money out of this cow?
Hmm.
Let's tax it some more.
I know it
And they
doesn't
just
make any
kept
sense.
taxing and taxing and taxing it. So, it's just been an easy cow to tax for the government.
Yeah.
And we got to change that.
Yeah. That's wild. I've never understood that argument of I get why, and not being political, I get why certain people, yeah, I'll just say certain people don't like entrepreneurs in general. They're just different mindset. They don't like capitalism, all that jazz.
Yeah.
But the argument that the investors are running around inflating markets is kind of asinine is a I can't think of a better word because like who
It's
wants
ridiculous. It's just
right.
ridiculous.
Because the
Yeah.
average homeowner doesn't have 30, 50 grand lying around to dump into a property to remodel it. So somebody's got to take the risk. And why take the risk without a profit? So it's just the weirdest argument to me. And I'll never understand it. And they'll never understand our side of it either. But it's just strange. And um, but Vancouver, we almost bought there once. It's so beautiful, and so we'll turn back on a positive note because I love going to Whistler. I before things got a little weird before COVID, Squamish was where I was going to move. Like when I was
Mm.
about 32, 33, I was like, I'm moving to Squamish. I want to be in the land of the outdoors. And then it got kind of weird, and I was like, okay. So that's why I told you before show we're moving to Alaska. I was like, if I can't be in Squamish, I'll go to Alaska, have all my outdoors right there.
I love Squamish. I'm a kite surfer, and it's got some of the
Really?
best kite surfing
It does, yeah.
in the country. Come May, June, July, August, September, it's just one of the best places to kite, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I actually might swing through that way on the when we drive up, because I haven't been to Whistler and Squamish since pre-COVID, and I really do miss it. And
Mm.
I remember going out there, me and my wife were kayaking out in the Sound and seeing all the kite surfers and the seals. I'm like, dude, this is the closest thing to heaven right here, the Squamish area. I loved it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Let's talk a little bit about more about your scientific scaling though, because a lot of agents struggle, like struggle. I don't know that you probably know better, but the ratio of agents that get into real estate die out in the first year or the first even 6 months because let's be honest, most agents don't close a deal within the first 4 to 6 months. And how do you survive? Not making money.
Right.
So the benefits of having a coach or a coaching program, whether in person or online mentorship, all that jazz, it's massively beneficial for any industry, but we're talking about realtors.
Yeah.
So without going and giving like too many of the secrets, how can an agent benefit from joining your system there?
Right on. Well, there's cycles to every agent. If you ask any agent where they're at on this bell curve or this cycle curve, it's either they're in position number one, which is survival,
Hmm.
you know,
Yep, most of
and
them.
here's the statistic of that. Last year in my marketplace, 60% of the agents did not make a deal. 60% didn't make a deal last year. That's not even survival.
Mm,
That's death.
yeah,
So, so most are there. And then the second stage is they're getting traction. That's stage two, getting traction, but still haven't figured it out, paying most of the bills, but still not quite getting it.
yep.
And then third stage is, okay, I got this, I
Mhm.
got this. But they're so overwhelmed and exhausted because we know that to do well, you got to pour everything into it.
Yep,
That's stage number three. Stage number four is finally, I've got this, but now you want to seek freedom.
yep.
You're looking for some freedom in life. And then fifth is, what I call the legacy agent, where they've actually figured it out and there's some value there. They're building financial legacy, they're building, their personal legacy, and they can pass something off to somebody else of some significance.
Yeah.
And then there could actually be even a level six, which is kind of where I'm at, where is leading a life of significance. How do I impact and really, change the trajectory of many, many people at once? So that's kind of the stages, and you have to ask yourself where you're at. How scientific scaling helps is it really touches every one of those levels. And first and foremost, you really need to know who you are and understanding your why and your purpose, which I know you really get.
Mm,
But really understanding who you are and your purpose and your passion lanes. See, when you work in your passion lanes, your strengths, your superpowers, or what I call prima powers, those are those DNAs deep within you. Underdog is one of those DNAs.
mhm.
Then everything is easier because you're now in the lane that God meant you to be in. You're in that perfect lane, so to speak. And so if you understand that, then you now couple that with who is your perfect avatar? Who's that person you want showing up each and every day? And throughout my career, I built a couple different avatars that would, basically on autopilot, I sell 50, 60 homes to each one of these avatars or help them buy or sell 60 homes, 50, 60 homes every year because
Yeah.
I honed that avatar so well to my passions. And so here's just one example of that. I was at the ball field 3, 4 times a week with my daughters, coaching, taking them to the games, whatever it may be. And I loved it there. It was my passion to be there. And I thought, gosh, I'm here many, many hours a week. Why am I not capitalizing on this in another way? And so what I did is I said, this is my passion, this is my lane. All of these athletes on the field are really my avatar.
Mhm.
Oh, well, they're actually my sub avatar. The true avatar is the parent.
Parents, right? Yeah.
So, how do I tap into this and make this all have a full circle? So, I said, gosh, I'm going to be the title sponsor of the entire league.
Yeah.
And with that, I got to put my banners everywhere. I built referral programs within that. I got to meet all the parents, all the kids. And when you get the kids
Mhm.
hooked on what you do, they're the best negotiator in every house, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if they say, why are we not using Randy as our real estate agent?
Hmm.
So I tapped into that, and gosh, that was just so powerful. That was one of them. Another avatar was investors because I love investing, and I'm in a serial investor as well in real estate. So just knowing who you are, your passions, your why, coupling that with an avatar and getting super granular with that avatar and understanding and knowing them, and then building out what I call commission rivers or the lazy river. And that lazy river for me in that one avatar was the ball fields. Like
Yeah.
showing up there, marketing. I was the best marketer at that ball field where hundreds and hundreds of people came. They saw the value that I was bringing to the community. It was easy. It was just like shooting fish in a barrel. And they would show up in my office and say, I don't have an appointment with Randy, but we want to meet with Randy.
Hmm.
And they'd walk in, and 20 minutes later, they'd be my client. I'd never met them before.
Yeah.
This is reverse engineering that chase, convince, close. Now, if they came in, And I go, man, 20 minutes later, I don't think I could work with these people. They're not me. They're just, I'm gonna struggle with them. I'm gonna feel like a chump at the end of this, not a chosen agent, not
Hmm.
the chosen agent. But then I had a team of agents that were on my team. And I go, they'd be a perfect fit for so and so.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, boy, this is fantastic. I've got the perfect agent on my team to serve and help you. He or she would be your chosen agent.
Hmm.
So that's it in a nutshell. And then, of course, all of the things that helped me sell 7,000 homes, all the tools, resources, the hacks, the accountability pieces. Because, gosh, if we're not held accountable, we don't do much.
Right.
So I've got a great accountability process as well.
Well, that's awesome. Well, back to your point where, I mean, we're as a single solo agent, we're on the constant roller coaster of income and literally paycheck to paycheck. And even in
Hmm.
high volume transaction businesses as a solo agent, you're still so incredibly busy. Not only can you not break away for you time, but then you're never going to scale out of it. And at best, you have a book of business in 30 years, which has value, but where's your retirement exit? And so as an agent, that's oftentimes either going the brokerage route like you and I, or teams, which I've also done. Um, what would, I mean, so there's the millionaire agent who the book talks
Hmm.
about building teams, and it's been probably 8 years since I read that book, so I don't remember it all. But the benefits of building a team is not only taking yourself out of the business piece by piece, but to your last example, if that's not a good fit, and there's going to be not a smooth cohesion there between yourself and your client, your avatar, you have somebody to push it off to and still monetize on it, making money while you sleep, as they say. And so, what's the first step you think to creating a team? Is it the right brokerage? Is it EXP? Is it real? Or can you be out of Keller Williams or a Century 21 or whatever it is and still build a team
Hmm.
successfully and be able to step back a bit?
Yeah, great question. Team is very attractive from the outside.
Okay.
Very attractive from the outside. You think, oh gosh, man, if I could just run a team, I could have a team. I would have agents, hustling. But you know, an agent is a very unique animal.
Yep.
And and most agents think that they're, wiser and better than even you as a team agent, that you've been running team for 25 years in some cases. And I'll say this, I've run teams of different sizes, and my most productive net, because it's all about the net, it's not about the gross.
Hmm.
My most productive for myself, anyways, and our leadership skills really vary as leaders. And first and foremost, if you're going to build a team, really understand who you are. You really need to know, are you a true leader?
Yeah.
Because it's all leadership.
Yep.
And my most successful net years were when I was 3 to 4 agents, including myself, on a team.
Hmm.
The moment I would expand beyond that, the work would start to bury me from doing my own production.
Hmm.
I couldn't be as productive myself, and my net numbers would come down. And so there's seasons that are really, really good for teams, and then there's seasons that are not so good for teams. Right now, my marketplace is not a season to be running a team. It's a really challenging season to run
Hmm.
team. And so you have to, there's so many variables in that. But, to really come around full circle to your question, and I really wanted to make sure that people understand team is not glorious. It's not always the glory of what you think it is. It can be very, very challenging.
Yeah.
It is always challenging. And if you want to think about a team, I would look at teams that have been around for not just a year or two and think, oh man, they've got it all made. Look at teams that have been around for decades,
Yeah.
because that's sustainability. They've done something right to be there for a decade or more.
Yeah.
So, you know, rip off and duplicate that version of a team,
Hmm.
not not the newbies. But running a brokerage, brokerages are struggling too in most cases. And to really have a successful brokerage, you have to have about 100 agents or more to really start to see a financial success of that. At least that's what I've seen. Maybe you've seen something else, Brandon, but that's kind of where I see the magic start to happen after 100 plus agents.
Hmm. Yeah, when I first opened it, I had several let's say brokerage growth accelerator enterprises reach out to me, and that was a common theme was you got to get to 100 agents. And I was like, dude, did I make the wrong decision? I don't want I don't want to manage 100 agents. I don't even want to manage more than 10. And so when I pushed forward, I was like, man, what did I just get myself into? And I never grew it too big because I can be a good leader, but I get these bouts of I need to be alone for a few days. I need some me time, and I'm not a real good people person. And you got to be a really good people person to run a team because
Yeah,
they need motivation day in and day out. And I knew I wasn't that guy. And
yeah,
so I decided then and there I wasn't going to grow it very big. And as you know, it's being shut down anyways. So it's is what it is. But um, yeah, you really got to just decide like being an entrepreneur in the industry you're your own boss and you got to lead yourself. You got to have that self motivation. But now, as a team or a brokerage, now you're the boss of essentially an enterprise, and those are your employees. 1099,
hmm
blah blah blah. We know that, but you have to be that ecosystem, that backbone for that company, and so you got to have the right leadership mindset. Otherwise, you might make some money for 6 or 12 months, but it's not going to go anywhere without proper leadership.
yeah. So true. And I personally I wouldn't open up a brokerage anymore. In fact, I'm helping brokerages make moves away from being brokerages
Mhm.
and seeing how they're more sustainable, more enjoyable. And most of us open up brokerages because we want to serve and help agents. But by getting into that brokerage, you start realizing that it's all the stuff that happens behind the curtain, behind the closed door that is consuming our energy and time,
Yep.
compliance, trust accounts, making sure that we're on the right side of the real estate law and all the deals. We don't want to go to real estate jail, of course.
Mm.
And so that takes up so much of our energy and time when we really want to just get into the business to help agents grow. And of course, also see some benefits of that financially too. But it's a real challenge. So today, I would say if you really want to grow something and grow it globally, not just, hyper locally,
Hmm.
is being part of the new brokerage model, which is, the reals, the EXPs, the LPTs, all of those are a much better opportunity for us as entrepreneurial, growth-minded leaders to build something really significant.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I was gonna ask, well, because I don't know what brokerage you're at, and I was gonna ask you your opinion on the two big ones right now, Real and EXP, but maybe we won't go down that road. Well, my Texas license was hung with EXP, and then they had an issue with me starting a brokerage out here. Yeah,
Mhm.
agree. I mean, I agree in some form or fashion, but now Real is out, and I don't know anything about Real, but it seems like they're doing a lot of the same model of EXP but slightly different. And honestly, I don't understand and I haven't researched it much, but is there one that is like, because it seems like I keep reading articles of how EXP is slowing down and then something happened and then now they're in a growth phase while real is growth, growth, growth. And like, who's going to win this race to the best?
Yeah.
Um, uh,
Well, I think there's lots of room for lots of different opportunities, but the model, the traditional model, the legacy brokerage, like the Remaxes and
mhm.
the Coldwell Bankers and so forth. Nobody's opening up any of those anymore. They're
Yeah.
just a thing of the past. It's like Blockbuster versus Netflix.
Yep.
And so, I would suggest that is, I mean, they'll always be around, kind of like Uber and taxis. You still see taxis,
Yep.
but it's just not what it used to be.
Right.
And so the new model, which is the model that gives agents ownership, and why wouldn't we get ownership? We're the most important piece of any brokerage.
Right.
Without the agent, what's the point opening the doors to a brokerage?
Yeah. Right.
So, the model of giving ownership to every agent is the only model that's going to really have any significance in the future. And then there's just variations of that. But what I would say, if you're looking at joining any of these new brokerage models like an EXP, a Real, an LPT, Kick, I mean, there's a new one starting out every day
Mm,
right now, is that you have to say, if I'm going to invest my energy and time, I need to make sure that that company is going to be around in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20
yeah,
years, whatever, because you're gaining equity in that company by being part of that company. And where I was before, so I'm at EXP Realty, where I was before, it didn't matter if that brokerage lived or died because I was just a tenant.
yeah,
Now think about that. You're helping people buy and sell real estate because you believe in the value of real estate, yet you're a tenant at your brokerage.
right.
Hmm. Go become an owner somewhere.
Hmm.
Make that change to being at an agent ownership brokerage, whatever that is. I don't care which one it is. But then I would ask the question, is this brokerage sustainable? Like, is it still going to be around in a decade?
Yeah,
Because you're going to pour energy into it. So you want to make sure that it's sustainable. And, think of all the streaming companies out there. There's many, some that you don't even know or hear of. They're just small and starting out, but they're going to be the next big thing. At least that's what they tell you.
right,
And then there's Netflix, which has got about 50 or 60% of the market share. Then there's Amazon Prime, which has about 25, 30% of the market share,
mhm,
Disney, and then all the rest, right?
right.
Where would you be? Ask yourself that question. Ask that tough question.
Hmm.
That's what I would
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah. I let my Texas license lapse. I'm no longer with the XP. But one of the things I really what's the word benefit from was the shares. I
Hmm.
I mean I started with them in shoot, I don't remember, but I got to a point where I had almost $50,000 in stock holdings, and I was like, dude, this is crazy. Why would I want to leave? And you actually may know my sponsor, Connor Steinbrook.
Yes, I know Connor well.
Yeah, yeah. Connor is who brought me on, and yeah, we've done a lot of cool things together. But yeah, he's still shoot, I don't actually know his agent count now, but he he uh he brought me in when I thought EXP was honestly a little bit of a joke. I was the I got brought into a room and they showed me um the EXP world and I was like, what is this Sims thing here that they're showing me? This isn't ever going to go anywhere. And it took me years to decide. And finally I was like, got it. I got stuck on a cruise ship with Connor one time, and he all but manhandled me into joining his team. And anyways, I enjoyed being at EXP. There was no reason for me to leave other than I let my Texas license expire, and then I started the brokerage here. But I still
Hmm.
have all my EXP shares, and still benefiting from this day to the ups and downs. And I haven't looked at it recently, but I think they're still going up. So I'm happy I got those.
Yeah, it's been such a blessing for my family and I because, we as agents, every one of you listening to this as an agent, remember you're a tenant where you're at. If you're not at one of these brokerages like EXP or Real or LPT, you're a tenant,
Mhm.
which means that, one day you're going to stop working and you're going to have nothing. You're just going to be a tenant. So that thing called a real estate license is worth nothing. It's fire starter. That's it.
Yeah.
And so I looked at it and went, Randy, you're telling yourself a lie. I called my business a business for years and years and years, and I one day woke up and realized that, gosh, I just have a career in real estate.
Yeah.
I get paid really, really well, like a pro athlete. But the day that that athlete can't run or shoot the basketball or whatever, they send them out to pasture. Well, one day I'm going to get sent out to pasture as a real estate agent, and what equitable event would happen when that happens? Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. And
Right.
I thought, gosh, I got to figure this out. Come on, you're smarter than this. You don't want to open up a brokerage again because you've done that. You didn't like that. It wasn't profitable. Hmm, what's this thing called EXP? And I started digging into it and I thought it wasn't true. It couldn't be true, right?
Mm,
But here I am. I've been with EXP now 6 years. I have, even at $10 a share, which is on the low side because we tapped out at 75 bucks at one point.
Yep.
But even at $10 on NASDAQ, I have about $600,000 in stock.
Yeah. Nice little
Not
cushion for when it's time to retire.
not bad.
Yeah.
And of course, I love helping agents and attracting agents and serving agents. So, I've got a decent revenue share that pays me out about $400,000 a year.
Not too bad.
And guess what? I pass away. I don't make it. Whatever. I pass that on to my estate.
Yep.
Now I have a business. I truly have a business today that I didn't have before I was at EXP. So to me, I don't care where you're at. I don't care which platform you go to, but go to a platform that's going to pay you beyond just another commission because chasing another commission, it's great. It puts food on the table, but it's not something that's going to give you something, as a legacy plan.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I think that'd be a perfect segue to my last question that I ask everybody is if you had 6 months to live, what would you do with it?
Oh, great question. Great question. Well, I would spend as many of those days of the 6 months with my family. I've got three beautiful kids. They're married to beautiful spouses. I've got one grandson a, and a granddaughter on the way here in another month and a half. And I would do everything I can to spend all of those days with them, exploring, experiencing things. I love experiences, whether it's kite surfing, jumping off of big tall buildings, um, doing whatever.
Mhm.
I want to fill my life with as much experiences with my loved ones that I can, and make sure that I impact others as well along the way. That they realize that life is worth not the ROI but the ROL.
Yeah. No, perfect. And arguably, you've made it to where you can step aside. Money continues to come in while you spend those moments with your family, and that's the
Mm,
goal, right? That's why we all get into entrepreneurship.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, perfect. I appreciate you coming on. Where is the best place that somebody could find you to either get your book or inquire about your courses?
Oh, absolutely. Well, social media is the power tool of choice these days.
Mhm.
So
Same here. Yep.
my name is Randy Dyck, Dyck, and my handle at Instagram is Randy C. Dyck, Dyck. That's the easiest, but Google me or ask Sam or
Mhm.
Chat GPT.
Yep.
I mean, you'll find me in a hurry.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. And I know I learned a ton, and I know my audience has learned some as well. So until next time, we'll catch you.
Awesome, Brandon. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks a lot.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed today's content. I want to thank you all for listening in. And as the great Les Brown stated, if you are not pursuing your dreams, you are literally committing spiritual suicide. We'll catch you on the flip side.